Welcome to this featured story presentation titled The Hood's Triumph. To follow along with the audiobook, find the links to the ebook and other materials in the description or where the text is provided. And now enjoy your audio experience of this featured story titled The Hood's Triumph. Mary's heart pounded in her chest as she walked home from the lending company where she worked. She'd been feeling uneasy all night, and now that she was walking alone in the dark, her nerves were on edge. She quickened her pace, hoping to make it to her apartment building without incident. But as she turned the corner onto her street, she heard footsteps behind her. She tried to ignore them, but they grew louder and more persistent. She knew someone was following her. Mary looked around frantically, searching for a place to hide or someone to help her. But the streets were deserted, and she was alone with her pursuer. Suddenly, a shadowy figure jumped out from an alleyway, causing Mary to scream in terror. The figure lunged at her, and she stumbled backward, her purse falling to the ground. Mary's fear turned to anger, and she fought back with all her might. She punched and kicked the attacker, determined to protect herself at any cost. After a fierce struggle, she managed to knock the attacker down and escape. Breathless and shaken, Mary ran to her apartment building and collapsed in the lobby. The doorman called the police, and they arrived shortly afterward. They took her statement and assured her that they would do everything in their power to find the person who had attacked her. The next day, Mary went to work at the lending company, determined not to let the attack defeat her. But when she tried to log into her computer, she discovered that her credit had been stolen, and thousands of dollars had been taken out in her name. Mary was devastated. She felt violated and helpless, like everything she had worked for had been stolen from her. But instead of letting this setback defeat her, Mary channeled her fear and anger into success. She worked tirelessly to clear her name and take down the criminal who had targeted her. With the help of her colleagues at the lending company, she uncovered a vast network of fraudsters who had been preying on unsuspecting victims in the hood. Mary became a hero in her community, known for her bravery and determination in the face of adversity. She even received a commendation from the local police department for her role in taking down the criminals. Years later, Mary looked back on that terrifying night as a turning point in her life. It was the moment she learned that she was capable of overcoming any obstacle, no matter how daunting. From that day forward, she dedicated herself to making a positive impact in the hood, lending her credit and expertise to those who needed it most. Her success was a testament to the power of resilience and the strength of the human spirit in the face of darkness. As she walked through the streets of the hood, Mary felt a sense of pride and purpose. She knew that there were still challenges to overcome, but she was confident that she and her community could face them together. Mary's efforts to take down the fraudsters didn't come without obstacles. She had to navigate a web of false identities, dead-end leads, and encrypted communications. But Mary was determined to see justice served. She spent countless hours poring over bank records, tracing transactions, and connecting. She worked with law enforcement and other agencies to gather evidence and build a case against the fraudsters. As the case gained momentum, Mary found herself in the crosshairs of the criminals. They knew that she was on their trail and they didn't want to get caught. Mary received threatening phone calls, emails, and even physical threats. But Mary refused to back down. She knew that the stakes were high and that the fraudsters needed to be brought to justice. She worked even harder, staying up late into the night, and sacrificing her weekends to make progress on the case. Finally, after months of investigation, the fraudsters were caught. Mary and her team had gathered enough evidence to secure convictions for multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. The hood erupted in celebration as news of the convictions spread. Mary was hailed as a hero, and her colleagues at the lending company threw her a party to celebrate her success. But Mary wasn't done yet. She knew that there were still lending companies in the hood that were engaging in unethical practices. She decided to use her expertise to start her own lending company, one that would provide fair and affordable loans to people in the hood. Mary's company was a success, and she became known as a pioneer in the world of ethical lending. She helped countless people in the hood get back on their feet and start businesses of their own. As Mary looked back on her journey, she knew that it wasn't just her own determination and hard work that had led to her success. It was the support and encouragement of her community that had propelled her forward. The hood was no longer a place of darkness and despair. It was a place of hope and possibility, where people like Mary could overcome adversity and make a difference. After years of running her successful lending company in the hood, Mary felt called to start a new venture, a self-supporting non-profit that would help her community in even more ways. The idea was simple but powerful. The non-profit would provide microloans and financial education to people in the hood who wanted to start their own businesses or improve their financial standing. The loans would be funded by the profits from Mary's lending company, creating a cycle of support and investment in the community. Mary poured her heart and soul into the non-profit, working with a team of dedicated volunteers to make it a reality. They held community events, hosted workshops on financial literacy, and provided one-on-one coaching to people who needed help managing their money. The nonprofit was an instant success. People in the hood were hungry for the kind of support and guidance that Mary and her team were providing. They came in droves, eager to learn and grow. Mary was overjoyed to see the impact that her work was having on her community. She knew that the nonprofit was just the beginning of what was possible. With the right support and resources, the hood could become a hub of innovation and entrepreneurship. To that end, Mary started to reach out to other business owners and community leaders, seeking partnerships and collaborations that would help lift up the hood even further. She organized a small business incubator, connecting aspiring entrepreneurs with mentors and investors who could help them bring their ideas to life. With the support of the nonprofit and the incubator, the hood began to transform. New businesses opened their doors, jobs were created, and people felt a renewed sense of hope and possibility. Mary knew that there was still much work to be done, but she was confident that the hood was on the right path. With her lending company, nonprofit, and incubator, she had created a self-sustaining ecosystem of support and investment that would continue to grow and thrive for years to come. As the nonprofit grew and expanded, Mary knew that she needed to take steps to ensure its long-term sustainability. She worked tirelessly to secure grants and funding, and she also started to explore ways to diversify the organization's revenue streams. One idea that Mary had was to create a social enterprise arm of the nonprofit. This would involve launching a for-profit business that would generate revenue, with all profits going back into the nonprofit to support its work in the community. Mary and her team brainstormed a variety of ideas, ranging from a catering business to a mobile salon. Eventually, they settled on a community-focused grocery store that would provide healthy, affordable food to residents of the hood. Mary knew that this would be a challenging endeavor, but she was confident in her team's ability to pull it off. They got to work on developing a business plan, securing financing, and finding the perfect location for the store. The grand opening of the grocery store was a huge success. People from all over the hood came out to support the venture, and the store was soon buzzing with activity. Mary and her team had worked hard to ensure that the store offered a wide variety of fresh produce, meats, and other staples at affordable prices, and it quickly became a go-to destination for people looking to feed their families healthy food on a budget. The success of the grocery store was a turning point for the nonprofit. With a steady source of revenue from the social enterprise, Mary and her team were able to expand their programs and services, offering even more support to people in the hood. Over time, the nonprofit became a beacon of hope in the community, helping people overcome financial obstacles and build better futures for themselves and their families. Mary was proud of what she had accomplished, but she knew that there was still much work to be done. With her nonprofit, lending company, and social enterprise, Mary had created a powerful ecosystem of support and investment in the hood. She knew that it was only a matter of time before other communities took notice, and she was excited to see what the future held. As Mary looked out the window of her nonprofit's headquarters, she couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had led her to this point. She thought about the robbery that had taken place just a few blocks away, and how that had been the catalyst for her to start her lending company in the hood. But now, as she looked out at the bustling streets below, Mary knew that her work was far from over. There were still so many people in the hood who needed help, who needed support and guidance as they worked to build better lives for themselves and their families. And then she saw it. The building on the corner where the robbery had taken place all those years ago. It was still there, still standing as a reminder of the challenges that the hood faced every day. But Mary saw something else in that building. She saw potential. She saw an opportunity to make a real difference in the community. Without hesitating, Mary picked up the phone and called the building's owner. She arranged a meeting and soon found herself standing in front of the very building where the robbery had taken place. As she looked up at the old brick facade, Mary felt a surge of determination. She knew that this was the perfect spot for her nonprofit's next venture, a community center that would provide even more support and resources to people in the hood. And so, Mary purchased the building with the help of her nonprofit's social enterprise arm. She poured her heart and soul into the renovation, creating a bright, welcoming space that would serve as a hub of community activity. The community center quickly became a beacon of hope in the hood, offering everything from job training and educational programs to health and wellness services. People from all walks of life came through its doors, eager to learn and grow. As Mary looked out at the thriving community around her, she knew that she had overcome incredible odds to get to this point. But more importantly, she knew that the work was far from over. There were still challenges to face, still obstacles to overcome. But with her nonprofit, lending company, and community center, Mary was ready to take on whatever came her way. She was determined to keep fighting for the hood, to keep building a brighter future for its residents, and to never give up on her dream of a more just and equitable world. Years passed, and Mary's nonprofit continued to grow and thrive. Its impact on the community was immeasurable, and Mary became a beloved figure in the hood, known for her unwavering dedication to the people she served. But as the organization grew, Mary knew that she needed to start thinking about the future. She had always been driven by a desire to make a difference, but she also knew that there were limits to what she could accomplish on her own. And so, Mary began to think about succession planning. She started to identify potential leaders within the organization, people who shared her vision and her passion for serving the hood. She mentored these individuals, teaching them everything she knew about leadership and community service. She encouraged them to think creatively, to take risks, and to always keep the needs of the community at the forefront of their minds. As Mary prepared to step back from her role as the nonprofit's leader, she knew that she was leaving it in capable hands. The organization had become a self-sustaining entity, with a strong team of leaders and a clear vision for the future. And so, Mary stepped back, content in the knowledge that her life's work was in good hands. She continued to support the organization in any way she could, but she also took time to reflect on the journey that had led her to this point. Looking back, Mary knew that she had faced incredible challenges and obstacles, from the robbery that had inspired her to start her lending company, to the countless hurdles she had encountered as she worked to build the nonprofit from the ground up. But despite everything, Mary had always believed in the power of the hood, in the resilience and strength of the people who called it home. And now, as she looked out at the thriving community that had grown up around her nonprofit, she knew that her faith had been well placed. Mary's legacy lived on, not just in the nonprofit she had founded, but in the countless lives she had touched and the countless futures she had helped to shape. She had overcome incredible odds to make a difference in the hood, and her impact would be felt for generations to come. One day, Mary received a call from the mayor's office. They wanted to honor her with a key to the city for her work in the community. Mary was surprised and humbled by the gesture, but she knew that this was not just a recognition of her own efforts. It was a recognition of the entire community, of all the people who had come together to build something greater than themselves. Mary knew that she could never have accomplished what she had without the support and dedication of the people in the hood. At the ceremony, Mary was surrounded by friends, family, and community members who had been with her every step of the way. As she accepted the key to the city, Mary couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and joy. But as she looked out at the crowd of people around her, Mary realized that the real triumph was not hers alone. It belonged to everyone who had worked to make the hood a better place, to everyone who had believed in the power of community to effect change. And then, something incredible happened. People who were just children when Mary started her lending and non-profit work in the hood stepped forward to share their stories of triumph. They talked about how Mary's organization had helped them to get an education, to find a job, to start a business. They talked about how her support and guidance had given them the confidence to pursue their dreams, to overcome their own obstacles and challenges. As Mary listened to their stories, she was overwhelmed with emotion. She realized that her legacy was not just a matter of what she had accomplished, but of the countless lives she had touched and transformed along the way. In that moment, Mary knew that her work was not done. There would always be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome. But as long as she had the support of the hood behind her, she knew that anything was possible. And so, with the key to the city in her hand and the community's love and support in her heart, Mary looked forward to the next chapter in her journey. She knew that there was still so much more to do, but she also knew that with the hood by her side, anything was possible. Thank you for listening to this audio experience. For more great audio stories, visit Dead to Riches on YouTube and other streaming platforms. Like, subscribe, and share this with other like-minded people looking for financial redeeming stories.